So welcome back to the Mindspan stream. My name is Ilker. I am a psychologist and educator by trade. And today we are talking about various topics, but around the world, maybe some people are returning to work, study, or some other form of functional living. And it can be a bit of a dread type situation returning to work. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the word dread as well. And I've prepared something of a presentation for us to work through. So whether you're here in the flesh live, welcome aboard. Give us a thumbs up and a like and all that rest of it. It'll help support the channel. If you're here watching this later on, welcome all the same. And as I say, by day, my daily adventures involve working in a clinical setting as a psychologist, offering assessment, treatment, and diagnosis, interventions, working through caseloads to help people function better and improve their lives and living. So today, because we're working through return to work to some description, return to study. It may be that you're returning to work and we want to do some preparation. We want to get some reframes going. We want to look at some elements of understanding how to sort of function better at work and improve our functioning through, all sorts of understandings like stress management or working through our situation so that we're not bogged down by the idea of work, so that if our chosen profession, career, our goals, our efforts throughout the day, throughout the week are having some lasting effect, so that we don't have negative understandings or negative affect or situations that might serve to ruin the mood. So we want to it's where I am in Melbourne in Australia. It's Sunday night, and tomorrow, even though it's Australia Day, it's a public holiday. Some people might still be returning to work. Nonetheless, if you're here, that's good. If you're checking in, here's what we're talking about today. We'll just do a quick check-in before we get started. So for anyone going back to work or study, or just back to routine, if you feel like Sunday night is heavy, sometimes Monday-itis can kick in. Tomorrow's coming in. So this stream is to turn that into a kind of skill set. And we want to make sure we have a set of skills rather than a bunch of moods. And we want to kind of work through, drop a line in the comments saying either work or study or both if you're doing both. And rate your Monday dread from 0 to 10 in the chat. If you're chatting with us, if you're popping in a comment, you can do that. And what I was wanting to do was to build through. So I want to just also maybe we can add an intention for ourselves, build an intention, have some goal-oriented observation, watching. If you've just finished doom scrolling or you're about to doom scroll, have an intention about wanting to go from small, wanting to go for small and consistent actions, rather than mega colossal projects or fundamental changes and shifts in our lives. I just want to do something and maybe just flash something here for us. While we're doing that, have a quick read or pause it, and then we can have a look at something there. And what we can do is, I'm going to get some sound going over here. It's too loud. Is that too loud? Yeah, let's put that in. That's nice. Yeah, not streaming that. It's very loud. Let's get that down. Okay. Little bit of ambience there. How's that? Set the mood a little bit. Yes. Okay. All right. Good. Where are we? So the intention is to have small actions that are done consistently, not drama. We don't want colossal changes that are unsustainable. We want to work through. So by the end of this stream, what you'll have is 4 major things that I'm hoping to accomplish today. I'm showing 5, but that's okay. It's not a count. It's a hand gesture of a pledge. So 4 things, hopefully. And we want to look at, number 1, a simple way to handle workplace politics without paranoia. Number 2, a stress-reducing organisation method that actually sticks. All right. So we can look at, it's not sort of biohacking or tech hacking. It's more just understanding ways to work through things, and you can choose your own tech stacks. Number 3, if you're commuting, if you're traveling for work, we want to look at some ideas around what we call what I call a self-help syllabus. So dead time becomes training time. And number 4, we want to look at language around work events, so that your brain stops cursing Monday like it's a demon. And we'll, if we have time, if we've got opportunity, if we've got people, we can do a Q&A that might be available. So as we're going through, ask yourself, what's your dread score, 0 to 10, in anticipation of work at the moment? And then we want to look at, what's the first 10 minutes of tomorrow that you're dreading? The first 10 minutes that you might dread. All right. Comment your situation, keep it de-identified, keep it private, manage your privacy. All right. So let's jump on to what we've got over here. And that is this idea of understanding the elements of what is, first of all, Monday-itis. And if you look on the screen, I'm going to try to present this in a way, if it's visual, if you're here with us live or watching this later, that's great. If not, if you're only listening to this, I'm probably likely going to stream this on audio only as well. So I will do my best to be as illustrative with my speech as possible, so that there's maximum benefit from that as well. Let me see if I can, if there's a way to increase the size of this. I'll just bring myself back to organize something over here and see if that is going to be working for us. Okay. Not sure why I can't increase the size there, but nonetheless, let's move on. So we're looking at some workplace politics. And so we looked at, we're going to get a toolkit today. We'll get a bit of a stress reduction organization strategy set. We'll turn our commutes from dread to a workplace, study syllabus, so that we've got some self-development time. You may never get this sort of time again, and I'm going to try something over here. But the time that we have is probably one of the most valuable resources that we'll ever have. And so I know this is a bit cheesy, but I feel like I'm going to use this to get some angles on on when I really want to emphasize on an explanation without sacrificing. But our time on the road, our time away from things that are not important to us, the drive, the commute, travel from work, it can be quite a long time. And so we may never have that time ever again for ourselves. So whether it's a podcast, whether you're listening to something, probably people are already doing that. But if you have some structure in that, we can kind of have some ideas around how we might actually best use our time to maximally and methodically and systematically benefit ourselves, building towards something. If you are only listening to level 1 things, then it's going to become, you're going to stay at level 1. if you have a progression, if you design something of a syllabus for yourself, then that's going to serve to grow your brain and improve your functioning and improve your capacity. So here's what Monday-itis actually is. Monday-itis is not, I'm reading this for the benefit of those who are listening only. So Monday-itis is not laziness. So clinically speaking, some of the research that has come up about this is what we're seeing is what we call anticipatory stress, when we're expecting stress. And your nervous system is rehearsing tomorrow over and over. And that rehearsal tends to come with rumination, and we're replaying conversations from the past, predicting conflict, imagining overload. And so the body starts to respond as if it's Monday. Okay. And so that can be quite a stress invoking situation. So we want to, as much as possible, be aware of these things first of all. So your body starts responding if it's Monday as if it's Monday already, and that's why we feel that distress and that stress in our chest, in the gut, in the jaw. There's tension in the shoulders. The sleep can become affected, and if you're up watching this, you know all too well. So the goal isn't just to be positive. Just let's just be optimistic. It's not about that. The goal is to reduce threat. Okay, and I might say to reduce perceived threat. You see, what we perceive and I hope this doesn't become annoying, and if it does, drop a comment or just let me know. But if we're perceiving threat, that's different. That's sending a factual message to the brain that we are under threat. Whereas rationally, if we ask and say, are we actually under threat? Is there a threat of danger, risk, or harm to my life actually? And there may be circumstances where that's valid, but we're in control of what information's coming in. But as far as what we perceive, the sensory perceptions with coming from our memories and what stream of thought we're actually tapping into, that can become quite a disastrous mix. So what I often see is this anticipatory stress, and your nervous system is rehearsing tomorrow over and over. And that rehearsal tends to come with, rumination. We're replaying conversations. We are predicting conflict and imagining overload. And when we imagine, that makes it real to the brain. Okay, our perception becomes heightened. So when the body's you're doing that, and the goal isn't just to be positive and just to be optimistic. It's about reducing the threat and the perceived threat and increasing agency, giving ourselves the sense of control, and building a repeatable reset routine. So, and I think this just reloaded, so that's okay. So here's a bit of a tool. Here's a bit of a tool that we can take away, and that involves becoming aware and understanding that there is anticipatory distress, that we name it, we give it a name, we talk about, we think about, we understand, we look at notes or something that gives us that real life feedback. And right about now, I just want to get the ambience back. Yeah. Okay. And then the second thing is we want to, once we've identified that the anticipatory stress is there, we want to locate this. And so when we locate what's going on, is it in the chest? Is it in the gut? Is it in the jaw? Is it in the shoulders? Is it something that we're holding in? Is it something that we feel in our physiology? Is it how we're breathing? Is it chest breathing or diaphragmatic breathing? And we can ask, what's the sort of what are we going to do? Instead of anticipate, we can ask what the next 10 minutes or the first 10 minutes of tomorrow is going to be like. And this doesn't have to be specific to Monday-itis. If something is affecting you in a way where you're anticipating, it could be you're anticipating that on a Wednesday night, and so Thursday night you're anticipating dread and stress, then your Monday-itis might be occurring on that time. So we want to decide on what the brain wants to actually focus on and try to anticipate what it is that our brain's actually reacting to. A little bit of self-analysis, self-understanding. Not the whole week, not the whole job, just the first 10 minutes. Just focus on that small slice of time first. Because once you can name the first 10 minutes, you can build a first 10-minute plan. And that can reduce the threat. Once we've got de-escalation through the help of, the parasympathetic nervous system, then we can replicate that, we can duplicate that, and we can amplify the effects of that. So maybe in the chat or in the comments, tell us what that looks like for you. Is it emails? Is it the commute? Is it the traffic? Is it your boss? Is it your co-workers? Is it the underlings? Is it a meeting? Is it a certain class, a certain subject, a certain topic, an assignment that you might have done? Kids, work, family, something happening in the street. So this is an important element for kind of working through that. Now, the next thing we want to look at is, and I'm interested why this is reloading. I just want to double check where we're at with this. Yeah. All right. So we've been through that. Feel free to screenshot this and take notes and dump it there. I might just remove this for a second. I'll bring myself up over here perhaps. Okay. So the next one I hear about a lot is, people hear that they either become naive about workplace politics and workplace dynamics. So you sort of hear this, I don't do politics, I'm not about it. So it can be, we can sort of put our heads in the sand, as it were, and become sort of ostriches or emus about it. I don't know if both of those animals do that. But, I hate politics. I don't do politics. I don't like politics. And so we disengage from that. Or they become paranoid. Everyone's plotting against me. Everyone's after me. The secretary and the accounts receivable person and, the HR lady. And it just becomes a paranoid storm in the mind. We want a third option. We want strategy and we want calm. So I'm going to go through these 5 rules over here. So if you want to take a quick screenshot or stand by for these, but the table of contents of this what we're talking about here, these 5 points, is stop mind reading and start hypothesis testing. Okay, become a scientist, become an observer, become observational about it. And the other one is track, incivility, not vibes. We don't want to just focus on our internal emotions and our mental state. Track incivility, track behaviors, if you like to put it in a more tangible and concrete way. Evidenceable. I hate to say that, it sounds so litigious, but if that's even a word, but something that can hold up as evidence. If it's behaviors that are either hostile in nature, or they're combative, or they're inappropriate, or they go against policy, or they may be illegal, track them. Okay. The third one is don't feed gossip loops. Okay. Disengage from gossip. It doesn't serve to do that. It's not the smart way to play the game. Build a micro alliance is number 4. Have people on your side, people that you can sympathize with, people that can sympathize with you. And then the 5th tip for today is, the political climate at work is not necessarily your identity. It does not constitute the who, and it doesn't constitute your substance, the substantive matter. It doesn't actually mean that that's you. It doesn't define you. It doesn't represent you. And so in that regard, we want to ensure as much as possible that we're aware of these things. So a quick note on each of these. The first one, stop mind reading and start hypothesis testing. Instead of they hate me, ask yourself, what behavior did I observe? What are the 2 or 3 possible explanations? What's my next professional move? Okay, sometimes it can serve to do that. And an analogy that I often use is when you're, figuratively running a marathon and you're working through the race. It's a race conceptually. You may not be gunning for first, but does it make sense if you're turning your head left and right every 5 seconds to look behind you? Because you're going to lose focus on what's ahead. And so sometimes it can just be the best thing to be productive. Focus on your own footsteps, focus on your own breath, focus on the next hydration station, rather than what's the person coming up behind me? What's this guy? Why is he wearing shorts? How come he's drenching himself with a bottle of water? I'm so thirsty. And you can lose track of your actual mission, okay, figuratively. So it serves as a bit of a microcosm of the rest of what's going on there. And I apologize for having to keep scroll through this, but bear with me until I figure that out. So the first rule we said, stop mind reading and start hypothesis testing. Number 2, track incivility, not vibes. Vibes are vague. Okay, emotions can be vague. They're not evidenceable. Vague triggers that could be threatening. Just get this lined up. Yep. And we want to track behaviors, okay? Observable behaviors. And it can help whether you've got timestamps, whether you've got locations, whether you've got individuals and characters that you want to note. But the types of behaviors that we might be talking about are interruptions, sarcasm, exclusion, last-minute changes, credit stealing, specific issues. They might be taking away acknowledgement for things you've ostensibly and actually done. Just things that are observable in general. All right, rule number 3, we're looking at not feeding gossip. Don't feed gossip loops. Use neutral bridge. Okay. When gossip starts, your brain wants to have a sense of certainty. What's actual? And we want to belong. We want to connect at a psychological level and at a psychosocial level. We want to be a part of the group. We want to be a part of the organization, and we want to belong. We want to fit in. But gossip can force us into sort of anxious loops, and that we want to connect. We want to find a way. We want to build a bridge back to the facts and outcomes. So the neutral bridge phases can actually make things sound more like I might be missing context. Maybe I don't have the full picture. Maybe that person's unwell, or they're doing something that's outside of my purview, and maybe it's not related. Maybe they've got different responsibilities. What outcome are we aiming for? And that's an important one to kind of get us reoriented to what's happening, what should be happening. We might sort of have this inner narrative and build that up to say, look, I'm not comfortable speculating, okay? Because speculation moves away from science. We want to be, we want to sort of have an empirical approach. We want to develop hypotheses and test them carefully. What's the next practical step? What are we going to do with the data that we've collected? So let's keep it factual. What did they actually say? What did they actually do? What's the part that we control here? What do we have influence over? What is it that we can actually do about this? What are the limitations? What are the boundaries? What's our scope of practice here? What are we supposed to be doing? What are we definitely not supposed to be doing? How do we not become the thing we're trying to free ourselves from? Okay, and those are important elements. So number 4, we want to start looking at building a micro alliance. Build an alliance. Have people around you. All right, there's that one there about having neutral bridges and how these work. So take a snapshot of that, and you can apply that in your life somehow and returning to your functional contextual areas, inshallah. Yeah. Just want to get in sync over here. All right. So when we start looking at the organization as threat reduction, okay, we just want to gain clarity here. When your brain doesn't know what matters, it treats everything as urgent. It's like the analogy of a smoke alarm. It's like a badly trained smoke alarm. If it detects combustible or combusted smoke, then it sounds the alarm, rightly so, accurately and correctly. But if it's not configured properly, then even steam from the kettle can set off the alarm, even though it's just vaporized water. And so it can be inaccurately or incorrectly triggered. So we want to make sure we've got an attuned, smoke alarm analogy. So we are not planning the problem. We're not overthinking about the problem. We want to just develop, this sort of, it's a threat detection issue rather than focusing on the issue itself. We want to zoom back, take it back a step, and rather than just put the problem in our sights, we want to just recalibrate our own threat detection instrumentation. So your nervous system is constantly scanning for these dangers. And when there's a sea of tasks in front of us and lots of things going on, we want to reduce that threat with a simple reset. Okay, so here are 3 items that we can do to achieve that. We have some musts that, we want to have done. And these are sort of our non-negotiable elements here. So outcomes for tomorrow, we want to have these, it's not nice to finish. These are actually required. And when we have those must-dos, we can focus on those rather than let that develop and turn into problems for stress activation. The other one is when we have a second list of things to do that are nice to do, not musts. List A is a must-dos, and then list B is like, it's nice to do. So everything else comes after that. So the must-dos, we focus on that when we get off track, and then we can come back to our sort of luxury thoughts, if you like, or everything else. They'd be nice if we have that. These matter, but they don't activate threat. You'll get to them if time permits, if you have the resources. They're not ignored, they're just deprioritized. Okay? So tomorrow you protect list A first. Write down a list of your actual musts. Allow me to just wet the whistle very quickly. So what are your 3 list A items? What are your non-negotiables? Drop them in the comment. Maybe it will serve to inspire others. The next one we're going to look at is making if-then plans. Okay, and if-then plans are having some intentions. Motivation can be unreliable, so we willpower gets depleted. Cognitive energy can fatigue us. So we want to have implementation intentions, pre-decisions that we can use to automate our behavior when specific cues occur. And your brain recognizes if-then because there's a natural flow on. If this condition's met, then this consequence will occur. So if it's 9 o'clock, I open my laptop. Then I write my top 3 before I check my messages. So if you do that check-in at the beginning, you'll have, in the foreground, what we call sort of psychological salience, you'll have them at the top of your daily radar, the 3 things, and then everything else just comes after. If I sit in my car before work, then I'll do 6 slow breaths. Maybe I'll do my adhkar. Maybe I'll do my quick salawat, not in the car, but in another setting perhaps. But just one outcome for the day. Get that done. Then another example there. If I feel the urge to vent in the group chat, then I'll write it privately first. Maybe put it in your notes app first before you actually send it off. And that might even, if you are going to send it off, at least you'll have the way to kind of work through it and think about the wording, or even spell check it or whatever. So you can build your own ones. Those are some examples. And the research is clear here. People who use if-then plans are 2 to 3 times more likely to follow through on their intentions compared to those who rely on motivation and willpower alone. And you can check the sources in the comments for the research pertaining to that if you want to develop your understanding further. Take a snapshot of this screen because I'm just going to jump through this one just in the interest of time. We're about 36 minutes in, so I want to make sure we get through without dragging the stream on for too long. But we're looking at now working through the commute. So we want to continue the commute situation. Commuting is just obviously a commute, but for those who might not know, it's travel. When you're traveling to and from work, whether you're driving, whether you're riding your bike, you might be going for a walk if it's close enough. You might be walking to the station. You might be taking the train. So whether it's driving, train, bus, walking, this is a commute. And time is often dead time. So, we might get tempted and just use that time for doom scrolling or just looking at slop or developing slop. So we're going to turn that into a self-help syllabus. And we have sort of 2 tracks here. If you're watching, you can see that on screen. But the first track is what we call a decompress. And the second track is what we call a skill build. So for higher stress days, we want to decompress on track 1. For growth days, we want to skill build. So that way we're sort of alternating. We're not stuck in a rut. Okay, you can adapt these to your context, obviously. But the decompress track, being track 1 for higher stress days, is, this is a sample, it's a template. You're welcome to take it and adapt it to your needs. 2 minutes downshift breathing. Okay, bring your central nervous system to rest. 5 minutes to sort of name the stressor. If you're journaling, you can do that. 5-10 minutes to reappraise one issue only, not your whole life. Just focus on one thing. And then maybe the last 2 minutes to choose your arrival ritual. Maybe you do something. Maybe you go get a drink. Maybe you go for a stroll around a particular area of the building. Maybe you go and say hello to some colleagues and build networks, whatever that might be. Okay, so that's a sort of high stress day to kind of get grounded. With track 2, the skill building, there's a bit of a layout over here. I've got the 5 days of the week being Monday to Friday, and we want to communicate, a micro skill. We want to have one phrase that we'll practice, maybe on Mondays, and then on Tuesdays we might set boundaries. A yes and a no, how we might actually verbalize that. We don't want to just be accepting things all the time. We want to have ways to say no. Wednesday, we can look at conflict, building conflict resolution skills and tactics. One that serves the I statement. And what does that mean in terms of, here's what I think we should do, or my perspective on this is, my opinion about that is, and so on. Thursday, we can focus on a single task, pure productivity, just deep work. Friday, we can review what worked, what didn't work. Okay, and then we can sort of iteratively build that second track of skill building for growth days. Okay, same ideas if you're studying, similar situation, but when you do this, when you actually plan this, if you do the foundational work, if you to use a bit of a house analogy, if you're building a house, you've got the concrete slab, you've got the frame, you've got the wiring, the cabling, the drywalls or the plaster, and then you've got a structure. But if you do that, you'll weather the storm. But if you don't do that, you're going to be putting out spot fires and patching up building errors as you go. And so that can be a problem. If you spend time on the foundation, then you let the building be and you can live in it without having to think about maintenance too much. So this is what that means. We're looking at ways to kind of work through the actual building of our syllabus, building of that syllabus between decompression and sort of stress management, and developing a growth plan for ourselves as well, so we can sort of alternate between track 1 and track 2. If you've got a less stressful day, then we can kind of move to track 2 and build skill. Okay. By the way, if you're listening, if you're enjoying this, drop us a like, drop a comment. If you want to see this in action visually, jump online. We are at Mindspan HQ, and I will reactivate. Where are we? Yeah, there we go. We want to have, we want a community here. We want people to be able to share. We want people to benefit from this. It's something that I'm giving my time to. There are resources here that I'm willing to share, conversations that I'm willing to have. So, don't hesitate. Don't be shy. There's a bunch of stuff. This is hopefully some easy listening, helping and supportive productivity. That's kind of hopefully faith oriented. I'm taking it a little bit easy from that aspect for today, but just want to provide some value hopefully. So if you're getting value out of this, please drop, like, comment, share, do all of that, and it just helps. It just helps people discover more, and it shows gratitude. And whether it's physical like here or not, at least make dua for us, and hopefully we can kind of work through that together, inshallah. The next part we're looking at is we've been through the two tracks. We want to look at now some cognitive reframes around work. And so sometimes we can be sort of pessimistic, or we can have language that we don't even realize is not useful. It's not helpful to our situation. And so the thoughts that become the thoughts that become problematic, we may not even be aware that it's something that we might become affected by. So if you're feeling trapped in your job, instead of thinking about this as I'm trapped, you might have a reframe like, look, I'm in a constraint, and I want to know what's my smallest lever. What's the smallest piece of influence I can exert over this situation? Number 2, instead of this place is toxic, what behaviors are unsafe, and what boundary fits here? Number 3, instead of I can't handle this, we can say, look, this is hard, this is challenging, this is difficult. I need sequence and I need support. Okay, and that can change the whole narrative of the thoughts that end up having a cascading effect on emotions and mindset and physiology. Instead of it's going to be a disaster, we can predict. I'm predicting what I can actually do now. I can anticipate. I can decide on what I want to anticipate. Okay, it's not just word games. This is cognitive diffusion, DEFUSION. And so this is creating space. It's diffusing. It's not fused together. It's diffusing between you and your thoughts. When you catastrophize, your amygdala activates. And when you specify, your prefrontal cortex engages. Okay, when you become specific, your prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain that's making decisions and is involved in logic and future thinking and prediction, becomes engaged. So the reframes don't deny reality or the difficulty. They actually convert that vague threat into specific problems that you can now break down and start solving and start thinking about a bit more, a bit more productively. And that can actually be done in a sort of helpful way. Let's Let's get the production quality going over here a little bit. Come on, look at my last stream and look at today's stream, and I think that's the proof is in the pudding, as they say. Okay, so your turn is drop this in the comments or just write it for yourself. No one needs to know. No one cares. This is for you. This is for you. This is going to make the difference for you. So, what phrase you say on Saturday or on Sunday night? What is it that you say to yourself? And what are you going to change that to? What's the reframe? And we can have a look if there are any examples during the Q&A today, if we have that. So here's a quick case study, case example, if you like. Whether it's for work or study, here's the scenario for a work-related case example. And I've just, so we've got a hypothetical person called Ivan. Ivan dreads Monday because his manager gives him last-minute tasks every week, derailing him from planned work. So here are the tools applied that we can sort of use from what we've learned today, from earlier on in the stream. First, we want to be able to name and locate and be narrow about what's going on. First 10 minutes, there's a manager's ambush coming. The top 3 list protects, the 3 priorities before the checked mail. If-then statements. If the manager assigns new task, then I ask which of my 3 current shoulds I deprioritize. We build a bridge, a neutral bridge. What's the deadline and what's the priority level for that? We want the language reframe as well. I'm not trapped. I need a boundary. I need to develop that. I need that through conversation, through talking and figuring that out with whoever I'm talking to, whoever I answer to. So now, as a result of that, Ivan, our hypothetical, our hopeful, stress-free worker here, or employee, employer, arrives with a plan rather than panic. He predicts, I've said to her, on his top 3 and has a script ready for reassigning priorities. Okay, and you're welcome to log into YouTube or the other social media. We are Mindspan HQ on all of our social media platforms, and if you want to check out the second case example there for the study example, you can sign in and have a look. It's at the 50 minute mark. I'm going to move on for any Q&A. So we have some filters for some questions, okay? And the main ones are we want to, if there are scenarios that you want to kind of work through, whether you want me to cover in subsequent streams or subsequent conversations, or if there's videos that you want to look at, that might be a good time. So is this a people problem or a process problem? And that can be an important prompt. Number 2, what's the smallest safe experiment this week? We don't want a perfect solution. We don't want a permanent fix. We just want to know one low risk action we can take in the next 5 days. And that can help just clarify our thoughts and how we kind of process and think about things. And the third one is, what boundary protects your energy without burning bridges? So we don't want to just say no to everything just to avoid it all. We want to be able to actually focus and understand, the balance, find that equilibrium. So here's some fast communication templates. When X happens, I feel Y. So I need Z. Can we agree on this? So it's sort of an XYZ approach. The second one, you might say, I can do A by Friday or B by Wednesday. Which is the priority? Right? And that can sort of prompt you to allow us to do that. You might say, look, I'm not available for that, but I can offer this. Okay, so there's some tactics there to kind of allow us to kind of work through things. And hopefully the wheels are turning. Hopefully you're kind of working through this, and it allows you to actually come to an understanding so you can use some sort of a mental model to apply your specific situation to solve daily problems or deal with Monday-itis to kind of use some of what we've covered today so far to kind of connect those. And hopefully, like I said, hopefully those wheels are spinning and allowing you to sort of think through things a little bit more rationally and logically. All right. So, where did we go? All right. The next step, we want to sort of just focus on being productive, being optimally productive. And we want to just at least, if this is all good or it's all bad, that's fine. Just choose one thing. Just choose a simple technique, simple element. And I realize this is a bit of a panacea of things that we've shared today, but we want to have the top 3. Yeah, we want to have a sort of choose one of these things, whether it's an aspect of your workplace politics and dynamics and your skill with regard to workplace politics and how you move within that system, whether it's about your productivity aspects and focusing on if and then statements and working out that, or if you're getting too into your own head about things, you might want to think about the language that you're talking to yourself with. If you're wasting your time on the road and you feel like you don't have enough going on in your life outside of work, maybe just develop a commute syllabus and develop your learning plan, whether it's a track 1 for de-stressing or track 2 for growth. So that might do us for today. The way you can support and give back or give forward, if you like, pass on, to pay it forward somehow, feel free to subscribe, and I'm just going to activate that. There we go. I want to sort of, get some engagement going. I'm trying to grow this channel to help people as much as possible, and I would really appreciate that if you found this valuable. Tell me what you found valuable. I'm very open to feedback. If there are elements that you benefited from, I'd love to hear from you. If there are elements that you think can be improved, I'd love to hear about it. And if there are particular topics, my background is heavy at the moment in the realm of psychology in the clinical setting. Outside of that, I hold an MBA, and my undergrad's in computer science. I was a teacher for 15 years before that. So there's a bit there. If you feel like you can dip into that, then benefit by all means. I'm using my time here to ensure that you get what is needed for you. And if you're watching this, then you've either made it through to the entire stream, and I appreciate that. Or if you feel like this is useful to someone else, that you might share that with someone that you care for or that will benefit from this somehow. So just a basic closing. I want to make sure that we've covered our ground. And so today we've sort of really just talked about, working through a simple way to handle workplace politics and workplace dynamics without paranoia. We want to have a stress-free and stress reduction approach, but if stress does happen, we don't want to break. We don't want to become brittle. We want to be able to go with the flow and manage the stress that does come. We can't surgically remove stress from our lives. It's just it's an occupational hazard, as they say. We talked about having a commute syllabus strategy so that we can develop ourselves and de-stress and decompress. And as well, we worked through some elements of language reframes, okay? Thinking about certain things that we may not realize unconsciously, using language that's actually putting us deeper and further into that dread. And so we want to unclutter our minds by using more sort of empirically driven and objective narratives or empirical statements that actually are more truthful and honest with how things actually are. All right. So we did it before, dread score from 0 to 10. What about after? If you're feeling any different, if your dread number between 1 and 10 has gone up or it's gone down after the fact, after listening to this, then share it with us. Let us know. It might inspire others to share as well. It might inspire others to see the effect. And so, remember to be de-identified, comment on your situation, what's going on. And I want to make sure that as much as possible, we're ensuring that. And what I want to do, maybe just to sort of tease the upcoming stream, is I'm thinking about doing this regularly, perhaps on Sunday nights, maybe earlier next time. I was shorter to announce this one, but maybe something about meeting overloads, dealing with meetings, hybrid creep, sort of thinking about changing work if you're going through a crisis, if you're managing a problem in your life, if you're becoming a father, if you're changing countries, if you're changing jobs, if you're studying, if you're about to graduate and you're about to start professional life, if you're becoming married, if you're becoming divorced. These can be major areas of life where we can be susceptible to crises and high pressure moments in our life where we sort of, sometimes we can get through it, but sometimes we need that support. Whether you know of someone like that, or you may be experiencing that yourself, that might be relatable. And so one of the goals is to kind of cater to that sort of to that scene where people are, where young men are experiencing stressful transition periods in their lives, crises, changeover times, phases in their life where high stress is involved and major changes can kind of throw us and take us off kilter. And there's a lot of stuff on AI that's happening. There can be a bit of a spiritual crisis. People don't easily come across and have purpose. We're living in sort of very materialistic and hedonistic times, and it can be quite nihilistic sometimes to be thinking about all sorts of divergent elements that are away from our practice of faith, our sense of purpose, what we're living for, what we're doing it for. And this can serve as a way to kind of bring back and align the identity and align that with our greater purpose, the bigger questions. Where are we going? What are we doing here? Why are we doing it all? So when we have a connection between what's happening, with our greater questions in terms of where we're going and why we're here, and our daily grind and our sort of daily rotation on the mouse wheel, in the rat race, then we can sort of get a bit more aware with what's going on. All right. So I won't waffle much more than that. Thank you for listening. Thank you for paying attention. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for your engagement. Thank you for stopping by. Also, I'm dropping some shorts for, we're in the month of Sha'ban at the moment, the month before Ramadan. And check that series out, subscribe to the channel, give us a like, and follow along for updates in the upcoming days, weeks and months. Inshallah, there'll be a lot more coming out as I get a better handle on all of this. And the series at the moment is looking at sort of spiritual and psychological tips to help us prepare for Ramadan. Ramadan's coming up. We don't want to scramble, the night before Ramadan and think to ourselves, oh God, it's fine to go to work tomorrow, but we might want to take the time off for Taraweeh, or we might want to pray long qiyam. We might want to focus our energies on this very important 9th month of the Islamic calendar and get the most out of that. So lots of tips coming up. Check that out, and I'll leave you with that, inshallah. All the best, and I hope this was useful. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.